Inverse variation. Their vocab, inverse variation, basically I'm going to define it like this. If A is a constant, then Y equals A divided by X. All right? An inverse variation is basically one where your X value is dividing into some constant. All right? Whereas direct variation, if I put direct variation over here to the right, direct, we're still going to deal with a constant A, but Y equals A times X. Okay, so direct variation is when X is multiplied by the A. Indirect is when X is dividing into the A. All right, and some books use K for their constant, whatever. The constant of variation it's either a multiplier or divisor, or dividend, multiplier or divider that doesn't DOESNT change. Now, I will say this. It will change from problem to problem. A is not the same thing for every single problem we'll do. I've had people ask that. It's like, but it was 6 the last problem. I'm like, yeah, that was last problem. But it will stay the same within that problem. You follow me? So if A is 6, so long as we're dealing with that problem, A stays the 6. Whereas X and Y change and shift around, okay? All right, your core concept, basically inverse variation. This is another way of defining it. Two variables, X and Y, show inverse variation when they are basically related as shown. Y equals what? A times X or A divided by X? A divided by X. And that's an A, not a 9. There we go. Better. Cool?
That's an A.
That's an A. Yeah, I know. It looks like a something other than A. But it is, nonetheless. All right, here we go. It looks like weird. All right, so determine whether X and Y show direct or inverse variation. Basically, the key to this is just solve for Y and look at it. Solve for Y. So like letter A, if I were to solve for Y, what do I need to do to solve for Y on letter A? We got to get divided by X. So if I divide by X, I get Y equals 5 over X. Well, is that inverse or direct variation?
Inverse.
That's inverse. Remember, it's a constant divided by X, so that's inverse. All right, letter B. Y is already by itself, but what kind does that one look like? Well, is it being multiplied by the constant?
No.
No, this is actually neither. It's either a multiplying relationship or a dividing relationship. So this is neither of them. It is an equation, yes, but it's not what we're looking for. All right, letter C, get it alone. How do you get the Y by itself? Multiply by 2. So you get Y equals 2X. What kind of variation is that? Direct, because it's multiplying the constant. Direct. Cool? All right, take like 0.2 seconds and do D, E, and F. Okay? Okay, 0.4 seconds and do D, E, and F. Maria. Letter D, what kind of variation is that? It's direct. Y is by itself and they're multiplying, so it's direct. E, what is that? Inverse.
Oh, inverse.
Basically, if I were to divide by that X and get Y all by itself, I get Y equals a constant divided by X. F, what is that?
Neither.
That one is neither. Because it's not a multiplying, dividing type of relationship. Cool? All right, any questions so far? Sweet, let's turn the page. All right, let's take this a step further. If we give you some data and ask you to tell us which one's which, let's say I'm going to write direct right here. And I always want to write indirect, but it's inverse is what it's called. All right. Direct variation is when we, what, multiply or divide?
Yeah.
Multiply, so that's ax. Inverse is y equals a over x. Cool? All right. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to find the relationship, find a, is what we're going to do. If they give us a table, we'll use x and y to find a and see if it's constant. So for a on this one, what would I do to get a right here?
Get a divided by
Divided by x, exactly. So a is y over x. So if I take my y's and divide it by x and get the same thing all the way down, it's direct variation. It means I have a constant a value. Okay? Inverse, same idea. If I want to get a by itself, which again that's an a, we're going to multiply by x. So if I take x and y and I multiply them by each other, and I get the same thing over and over and over, it must be an inverse relationship. Okay? So here we go. Let's try it. Let's start off with dividing. Why not? What is negative 12 divided by 2? Negative 6. What is negative 6 divided by 4? Not negative 6, is it? It's not. So we can stop right there. It's not. Which one? Which one is it not?
It's not inverse.
Direct. It's not direct variation. We took y and divided by x and found out, hey, that relationship is not consistent. Okay? So let's try the other one. I'll do it in green. Let's multiply them. What is negative 12 times 2?
24.
Negative 24. What's negative 6 times 4? Negative 24. What's negative 4 times 6? Still negative 24. Last one is... Since we multiply them together and get the same thing over and over and over, this must be what? Inverse. And actually the equation for this would be y equals negative 24 over x. Because our a value is 24. That is the constant. Cool? Letter B, same idea. Let's do that one real quick. Let's start off by dividing. We're going to do y divided by x. What is 2 divided by 1? Well, it's 4 divided by 2. What's 8 divided by 3? Not 2. It's 8/3. So we found our breaking. So it's not direct. Okay, let's try inverse. What's 2 times 1? What's 4 times 2? Yeah, I almost put 4. So is it inverse variation? It is neither. Neither, neither. Potato, tomato, tomato. Caramel, caramel. You say it's leisure, les yeux. All right. All right, so take a second to do C and D.
Oh, I got it.
Take a second to do C and D. Video going back again. Letter C, that is what? Direct or inverse?
Direct.
Direct, good. Because if you divide it, what's all of these divided by the x's? Negative 5. So since it's direct, you can say, hey, that's y equals negative 5x. I didn't ask you to do that, but you could have. D, what is D?
Inverse.
Inverse. So you must have noticed when you multiplied them together, you got 60 all the way across. Therefore, this equation would be y equals what? 60 over x. Good. It didn't ask you for the formula, but that's what it would be. Cool? All right, how we doing? Give me a final one. Father got this form. Okay, 3 and 2 and last one saving. Sweet. All right. I'm not sure that this gets any harder, even though there's words in my math. No. All right, so here we go. Here's how these work.
Letters belong in English.
Letters belong in English. Well, I thought it here. All right, basically, here's what they're going to do. Step 1, they're going to say, what type? All right, they're going to tell you what type it is, whether it's inverse or direct. All right, part 2. They're going to give you enough information to find your constant. They're going to give you enough information that you can find the constant of variation. Last but not least, answer the question. Now, I don't normally like giving steps because it's a little broader than that. These steps do not change. They're straight up going to be the same thing over and over and over. So like, here we go. Letter A. The variables x and y vary inversely. Okay, so is it a times x or a divided by x? Good. So y equals a over x. Cool. That's the first part. The answer's at the end, but we're working towards it. So we know that's the type we got. Okay, then they give us enough to find a. Y is 4 when x is 3. So just plug in what you know. Well, y is 4. That means a must equal a over 3. And again, that's an a. So what must a equal? If 4 equals a divided by 3, not 1/3, it's 12. Just multiply by the denominator. 4 times 3 is 12. And again, remember, it's a constant. It doesn't change. So here we go. Number 3. They ask you a question. Find y when x is negative 2. Okay. So y, we don't know it. What's your a again? 12 divided by what? Which is what? There you go. That's your answer. Cool. I told you today was massively difficult.
Yes.
I told you. All right, letter B, same idea. First sentence, what kind of variation is this? Direct or inverse? Inverse. So we're going to use the equation. We're going to multiply or divide? Divide. A divided by x. All right, then they say y is 8 when x is 4. So step 2, fill out your equation, find a. If y is 8 when x is 4.
So 32.
Huh?
So 32.
In a minute. So here we go. We got 8 equals a over 4. Therefore, a must equal what? Thought of 2. All right, last but not least, they say find y when x is negative 16. So, find y when x is negative 16. Huh? Don't drop your negatives. Cool. How are we doing with this? Give me a 5 to 1. Got it. All right. Pick a letter. C, D, or F. Which one you want? D. I heard D first. Do D. Everybody do D real fast. Take, I don't know, 0.6 seconds and do D. Two and a half days. 2.5 days. Okay, Jordan? You okay?
Yeah.
I think you're in line right now. Cool. Did we make it?
Yes.
Sweet.
Next.
All right, turn the page over. We got one more we're going to do, and we'll call it quits. But I'm tired. We've been doing this for a whole 3 minutes. All right, here we go. Turn the page. Problem 4. Okay, yeah, it's a word problem, a real word problem. So what? It's the exact same thing. The time that it takes a group of volunteers to build a playground varies inversely with the number of volunteers. Oh, they just told you what type it is. It takes a group of 10 volunteers 8 hours to build the playground. Oh, they just told you how to find your constant. And then comes the question. Write an equation to model the situation. Then make a table showing the time it would take to build the playground when the number of volunteers is 15, 20, 25, and 30. So, okay, sentence 1. What kind of variation are we dealing with? Inverse. So question, do you think it's, don't write this down yet, do you think it's t equals a over n, or do you think it's n equals a over t? Which one do you think? It's actually the first one. It reads off just like it. It is time, so I'm going to give myself some space here. So it is time varies inversely with the number of volunteers. Cool. It reads off like that. Okay, so they give you enough information to solve it. Okay, what am I going to plug in for time?
8.
8. What am I going to plug in for A? We don't know yet. Good. What about N? 10. Therefore, if 8 equals A over 10, A must equal 80. Very good. Okay. Step 3. Answer their question. Write an equation modeling the situation. So what would that equation be? T what? Keep going. 10. That's your baseline equation. And they want you to build a table with the following values. 15, 20, 25, and 30. So pull out a calculator and start plugging those puppies in. What is 80 divided by 15? Anybody with a calculator?
What did you say?
Just plug in 15 for N.
5.3.
Okay, 5.3. When you get to word problems, I don't care if you round. Everywhere else, give me an exact answer. Plug in a 20. What's 8 divided by 2? 4. Plug in the 25. What's 8 divided by 25? 3.2. Plug in the 30. What's 80 divided by 30? 2.6. So that's how long it takes for depending on how many people you've got. Last but not least, it says, what happens to the time it takes to build the playground as the number of volunteers increases? The time decreases. Time decreases. Or the time goes down. Or it takes less and less time. Or they do it faster. However you're saying that. Cool? Any questions about this at all?
No.
Anything you want to talk about?
No.
All right.